shut long enough, may God bring down mountains and give you gifts that you will not even be able to have enough blessings to bless him back. Look at somebody and say, grace. Then he added to the grace, peace, peace. It was two different subjects because it was bringing two different things. May he bless you with what you don't deserve. And peace, may he muzzle the ox of the enemy. May he shut the doors of the lion. May he stop every demon in hell that is trying to rob your vision and keep you back from going. He connected the two things and said, grace and peace, grace and peace, grace and peace. May he bless you with what you don't deserve. But may he stop the demons from messing with your life. May he give you an anointing that would break every yoke. May he stop them before they pull you down into the pit of hell. May he lift you up on every side of your mind, and may he put them back into the pit of hell. Look at your neighbor and say, grace and peace, grace and peace, grace and peace, grace and peace. The text goes further in understanding this text. He is indicating to us the theology of grace. In other words, it is an extension of the exchange of God's love for the sins we deserve death for. Oh, I'm going to take you to the mountain in just a second. I'm just laying the groundwork for the demonstrative acts and deeds. We deserve a dismissal. However, the grip of grace is all powerful. It is the essence of God, where there's more grace than there is sin. Oh, there's enough grace to keep us, and yet sin is ever prevalent and ever so increasing. Grace is greater than our sin. Yeah, that's why the text says, shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. Why? Because there's more grace than you could ever think to do wrong against God. He cannot be exhausted with what he brings to the table. I can biblically support that, church. John chapter 1 and 14 in King James Version, so you know I'm saved. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1:14 Amplified says, and the word Christ became flesh, human, incarnate, tabernacled among us, fixed his tent in our lives, and we actually saw his glory. We observed him, we witnessed him as the only begotten, the only one unique of its kind, none like him. Begat, 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 begotten. Begat, 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 begotten. Nobody could fit the one that goes to the cross and the two sticks, one vertical, one horizontal. It was God, anointing, begotten, unique, that goes to the cross. And he's full of grace, loving kindness, full of grace, favor on every side, full of truth, no lies within him that could ever exist, full of truth, nothing but the absoluteness of God. On the cross is nothing but God who is truth, and truth who is God. On the cross, in Message says, the word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood. Look at somebody and say, Christ is moving in your neighborhood. We saw the glory with our eyes, the one of a kind, the uniqueness. He was generous inside and out. Truth from start to finish. In other words, inside of him is the essence of God itself. Inside of him is God's character locked up in a human body. Inside of him is the mercies and the grace of God. Inside of a human body, it is impossible to keep all of the attributes of God inside of a physical body. That's why you can't stay still in church. That's why you can't stay still when you're in the street. That's why you can't stay still at any time that you think about the love of God. Look at somebody and tell them you just don't have an experience yet. You gotta understand something, church. Sit down, you're making me nervous. So much, this much. The devil is a liar. The things that you got to understand is that his love toward us is more important than our love toward him. It's not as important to realize that I love Christ. That's good. It's more important to know he loves us. Paul experiences the real act, the manifestation of the Christ on the cross. That's why, church, you've got to know he loves you, because Paul knew he did. Paul recognizes, I should have been killed for what I plotted and planned against the people that loved God. I should have been sent to hell for sitting in a board meeting and sending out decree to kill Stephen. I should have been brought to trial and put on capital punishment for being a conspirator toward murder in the first degree, because I planned out what I was going to do. Instead, I end up with a second chance. He is the God of the second chance. I'm going to try to be nice tonight. Look at somebody and say, he's the God of the second chance. Yes, he is. He's the God of the second chance. And God knows most of us on our 10th chance by now. We mess up daily. We do stuff that really aggravates God. We do things that we don't deserve to be sitting in this church. We don't deserve to have no title. No person coming up here and say, I deserve to be bishop. I deserve to be pastor. What the foolishness you talking about? You don't deserve to be nothing inside of here. You just should be glad God didn't kill you when he could have killed you. You just to be glad God didn't get rid of you when he could. Look at your neighbor and say, ain't nothing but grace here. Grace, grace, grace. Grace, the fact, I'll be there in a minute, the fact that the incarnate God, Christ himself, allowed nails to go into his hands. Sit down for a minute. He allowed nails to go inside of thorns in his head. He understood, Paul understood, this was done for me. This was done on my behalf. What he did it because he didn't want me to get lost. What he did it because he wanted me back in his kingdom. What he did was because he loved me so much, he would not allow all of the investment that he put inside of me to be lost in the shuffle. Look at somebody and say, this thing was done for me. That's why I said earlier, it's more individual than it is corporate. When I understand what was done for me, I don't lose my faith. When I understand what was done for me, even if you remove me from office, I can still be in church, because the office does not determine what happened on the cross. The office does not determine what's happening in my spirit. It is the Christ that died for me. The Bible tells us here, church, Paul understood something. He understood the mysteries of God. He understood that this thing is working itself in my life, and I can't even articulate how it is. Let me see if I can help you there. It's working out for me on the cross, and it was done for humanity. Yet humanity cannot even explain what was done for humanity. It's because it's a mystery. My salvation is mysterious. Don't ask me how I got here. All I know is that, first of all, church was not on my agenda. Church was not part of my plan. Church was not something that I wanted to be a part of. I could think of 100 other places I could have been, but he had me on the agenda when he went to the two sticks, one vertical, one horizontal. He had me on the agenda. When he allowed the thorns to go into his head and the nails into his hands, he had me on his agenda. When I wasn't thinking about him, I was sitting on a bar stool running through the streets, he had me on his agenda. When I thought drugs and I thought suicide and I thought murder, he had me on his agenda. And you really think that when I come to church, I'm going to play cute? You really think that when I get here, I'm going to look at you to determine how I'm going to bless God? Look at somebody and say, grace! Grace, grace, grace. Sit down. I'm in the medium of this here. You can get that humming out. I'm in the medium of this here. It says here, not only did Paul, understand it, but when he recognized, he said something else. He said, you know, Lord, let me ask you a question. I talk to you about this 3 times a day. I've been asking you about this thorn in my flesh. I don't know where it came from. It's just too much for me to deal with. I love you so much, but I got a bent in my life. I love you so much, but I have a dislocated hip. I love you so much, but it seems like there's some issues that I have not yet gotten under control. I love you so much because you spared my life, but still, Lord, there's an issue going on, and I talk to you about it. I pray about it. I fast about it. Text says, he said 3 times I came to you about this thing, and the only thing you could answer me back with, my grace. You mean to tell me that with all that I'm dealing with, you have so much grace that is sufficient for me? Why would you choose me with my gender, with my benders? Why would you choose me with my issues? Why would you choose me? I choose you, and I give you grace that is sufficient to keep you. But I choose you, and I gave it to you to remind you, you are nothing without me. You are nothing without my grace. If I didn't put myself inside of you, you would have been in a different direction. Look at your neighbor and say, grace. So Paul opens and gets to the text, and he said, what shall we say to these things? He says, if God. Now let's take it out of King James Version, if, the subordinate clause, and move it into the Greek composition and say, since God is for me, since God is on my side, since God is looking in my direction, since God invested so much in my life, since God spared my life, why is it that I would think that anything could separate me from the love of God? You really think you could stop me from loving the God that loved me? You are so inconsistent with your love. You're attitudinal with your love. You're a roller coaster with your love. He loves me enough. He knows everything about me, and he still loves me. Oh, look at somebody and say, he loves me. He knows everything about me, and he's still invested in me. He knows where the bents are. He knows where the challenges are, and he loves me so much. Since he loves me, you up there trying to bring up my past and my present struggle. You up there looking for my sanitation truck. Since you love garbage so much, take mine and yours and enjoy the garbage. But you are the least of my concerns. You are the last thing on my list. To hell with you. All I got to do is love God. Give somebody a high five and say, love God, love God, love God, love God, love God.